Alrighty. Welcome everybody. Can everybody see my shared screen slideshow okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, welcome to this week's Brown Bag Lunch presentation for spring 2025. Go to the next slide, and we will begin with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Cal Poly Humboldt is located on the unceded lands of the Wiyot people. Arcata is known as Gudini, meaning over in the woods or among the redwoods. We honor them and all neighboring tribes by our ongoing commitment to developing trusting, reciprocal, and long-lasting partnerships. Here at OLLI, we believe learning should never end. OLLI creates opportunities for academic engagement, civic involvement, personal growth, and fun. By offering a myriad of classes and experiences for a vibrant community of learners aged 50 and better, OLLI delivers learning for a lifetime. And some descriptions about OLLI and it's a membership program. It runs from July 1st through June 30th, and the annual fee is $35 a year. OLLI classes are designed for lifelong learners, 50 and better. Classes are open to all learners over the age of 15 too, so you don't have to be age 50 or older, as long as you're an adult. Non-members pay an additional charge. That additional non-member fee is $25 per class, and they are enrolled as space allows. But here are some great benefits to being an OLLI member. You get lower class fees and first priority registration. You get a Cal Poly Humboldt email account, which gives you access to the full professional version of Zoom, as well as a bunch of other Cal Poly Humboldt software. You get discounts on the Jack Pass. You get eligibility for course scholarships. You get student discounts at local businesses in the community. You can participate in OLLI special interest groups. And you get a library card access for free included with your membership fee. And last but not least, you get gym and rec center access on the campus for a small fee.
Dane,
Yes.
people might not know that you have to go to the library to get but you get a photo ID, and actually that's very useful.
Yeah, you get an actual ID card included with your membership. And usually
I
that's
used
the
to, when I was traveling internationally, I got student discount places.
and that applies to I know the New York City MoMA will accept student ID cards for like you can use your student ID card a lot of different places besides the Humboldt community. So yeah, thank you, Ann. All right, next slide. One of our other programs here at OLLI is our Let's Connect OLLI online conversations. These happen every Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. with Tracy Barnes-Priestley. These weekly sessions began as a response to the isolation from COVID-19. Every week, we have a different topic that we talk about, and it's not really a class, it's just a way to bring the OLLI community together. And it was so popular that we just decided to keep it going for every Friday. So, um, yeah, check it out. It's on our website. It's humboldt.edu/olli/let's connect for more information. And like I mentioned before at the beginning, we do record all of our OLLI brown bag presentations. And if you would like to see ones we've recorded in the past, check out our YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/@OLLI-Humboldt. We have every week, within 24 hours, typically 24 to 48 hours of the brown bags occurring, we upload them onto our website. So the turnaround's pretty quick. And if you have any questions about OLLI, our program, or any of our classes, please give us a call at 707-826-5880 or email at us at olli@humboldt.edu. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Jane Woodward, who is going to introduce this week's guest.
And welcome to everyone. We're delighted to have you here today and to have Ann Lindsay back with us. And it was, who's a Dr. Ann Lindsay, was Humboldt County Public Health Officer from 1993 to 2011. She and her husband, Alan Glazera, MD, shared a family practice in Arcata for 28 years and raised their two children here. They were recruited to Stanford University in 2011 to establish a primary care clinic for Stanford employees and dependents and their families who have multiple chronic health conditions. The clinic was able to improve care, lower costs, and achieve top rankings in patient satisfaction with adoption of a new model of team care. The War of Life in Humboldt, however, brought them back north in 2017. They cherish the fabulous community of people here and the natural beauty. And Anne, of course, was inspired to co-found or found by herself, maybe co-found.
Now with a
And
lot of people.
well, you have a lot of people working with you, and she's president of Life Plan Humboldt, and she's going to give us an update on it. It's come amazingly far, and it's very impressive.
Oh, all right. Thank you. And I'm just scrolling through who's here, and there's some diehards who know a lot about Life Plan Humboldt, and some are ambassadors and volunteers, and it looks like a couple of a few new names. So just briefly, you can learn a lot about Life Plan Humboldt by going to lifeplanhumboldt.org. But we are a nonprofit. We were formed in 2020 to build and operate a senior life plan community, not only just a senior life plan community, but a very innovative and exciting and resident-led community. And we're planning to locate in McKinleyville at the town center. And I'm going to give an update. OLLI is kind enough to have me give a brown bag every quarter or every semester, whatever it is.
Session.
Every session, yeah. So I want to review what, with all your help and with the great support of the community, what's happened in 2024. We had outreach events, and every couple of months we have a party. Actually, we call them friend-raising parties. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you'll see them, and they're really fun. Between 60 and 100 people attend, and it's a good place, we say, to meet your future neighbors, but also the ambassadors and board members are there, so, and we always give an update there. So watch for that. We have our architects are Perkins Eastman. They're national architects, but they were working with the office in the Bay Area. And they came here and had guided a 2-day workshop, and we had 40 community members looking at, talking about what kind of style, what's Humboldt style, so we can bring, even though these are Northern California architects, there's something peculiar about Humboldt that we really want to achieve with our Life Plan Humboldt campus. And then after that, we had a gathering this is one of our friend-raising parties at the View Room in Arcata at the Plaza View Room, and there were 100 people. That was our biggest one. And we've begun renovation on an office on Hartwood Drive in McKinleyville. It's right behind the Coast Central Credit Union, and they have given us a $5,000 grant towards the office setup. But eventually, we are going to be welcoming people more. Now we're just using it for internal meetings. It's just not fully furnished and developed. I'm really excited. Many of you have heard about that. We had we have a formal agreement with Rural Community Housing Development Corporation for and they'll develop up to 50 apartments for low-income seniors. There'll be rental units that will be integrated with overall Life Plan community, because our board is committed to access and really we've gone out of our way to make sure that we can provide a life, experience, a group living, supportive living experience to seniors regardless of their income. And big exciting news is, it takes a lot of money to get to the point where we get construction bonds. And we're going to have to borrow tens of millions of dollars to build, but in order to pay the architect, the permit, and the engineers, and all of the other work that has to be done, we have been fundraising for the pre-construction costs, but we had a loan package approved through North Edge Financing, which used to be Arcata Economic Development. And contributors to that include the Headwaters Fund, which is a county government, and it, by the way, it doesn't impact the county budget itself, which is in trouble. The Humboldt Area Foundation contributed some loan funds. Arcade Economic Development Corporation, Community Visions, and Redwood Economic Development Commission have also contributed. And a group called the iBank has provided loan guarantee, because in order to borrow $6 million when you don't have any collateral is a trick. And so we're paying them to provide an 80% loan guarantee to the lenders. But we continue to fundraise, and those of you who generously contributed to end of the year fundraising know the point is the more money we fundraise, the less we have to borrow, because when you borrow money, you have to pay interest, which increases our cost. And we are right now working really hard with overall construction costs going up and everything going up to really make a quality living experience available, but keep the prices within range. We were fortunate to get a grant from Providence St. Joseph's Hospital for $25,000. We had a great party on June 8th at the Fieldbrook Winery, and we call that Raise the Roof. And we had Joyce Howe and Fred Neighbor band playing, a really community favorite. And we brought in, I think it was $42,000 in donations at that with an auction. And it's a lovely setting that, and I hope you'll consider coming next year to will actually be our first week in September. At the end of the year, we had a big push, and 130 donors contributed $172,000 in a fundraising drive. And then the heart of Life Plan Humboldt is volunteers. And the Life Plan Humboldt volunteers reported 3,067 hours in 2024. And I know some of our really active volunteers refuse to go online and report their hours. So I know we've had more than that, but it's very impressive. And that's how we've accomplished all of this. Those of you who've been following us for a while know that we had been planning to build 144 cottages and apartment, but with the construction costs up and there wasn't a local contractor who could build a community that size, and the out of the area contractor was exorbitantly expensive, and the timeline was, because you have to pay workers from out of the area for 5 days to come here work for 4 days. Anyway, we're happy to be now working with Pacific Builders as a local builder. And we're planning on building 35 cottages and 54 apartments and a community space. And that'll allow us to keep these funds in the community and the jobs, the construction jobs in the community. And we hope that the success of a project this size could lead to future expansion. Now, I want to hats off to the Life Plan Humboldt ambassadors. It's our grassroots marketing program. Ambassadors come to an hour-and-a-half training and periodic updates to learn how does a life plan community work, and what are we planning to do, and what are our values, and what are the timeline, and as much as we can tell. And then they go out and talk to their friends and neighbors about Life Plan Humboldt and help organize these fundraising parties and the Raise the Roof gala, and go tabling at the Friday night market or the co-op Eureka Natural Foods, or at the North Country Fair. That's one of the most fun ones. Music in the Park in McKinleyville. And for those of you who don't know about Music in the Park, McKinleyville is a great setting for Life Plan Humboldt. There's all kinds of amenities and businesses right there within walking distance, and across Central Avenue all summer, the Thursday evening Music in the Park, or the free concerts. And it's often McKinleyville's a little bit warmer than some of the other communities in the area, and it's a very enjoyable experience. So also towards the end of the year, our architects prepared a revised concept design, and their Pacific Builders began working on estimating the cost, and we're also working with Kendall Advisors. Now, Kendall is a network of life plan communities, of nonprofit life plan communities. They're Quaker-based, and they've been around for a long time, and they're helping us make plans. So I can't, because the plans are in flux. I've been warned I can't show you all the beautiful pictures of what we're trying to build, but I do want to get this is what our current plan, and it's subject to change. But you can see here down the lower right where the automobile car is. That would be our entrance area, a high ceiling and covered walkway, and all along down the end of that building, there'd be classrooms and studio space and library and offices, and very similar. Now you can see on the upper left here that we are going to be building along Hiller Road in McKinleyville. But one of the things that the architect has done is kind of change the configuration. Rather than having the apartment buildings just be all straight across, it kind of made a little angles on them, and we feel that that makes it feel more comfortable and more welcoming. But hopefully by the next OLLI I give, I'll have lots of pictures about what things are going to look like. So hang in there. So what are we doing? We've been working actually since end of December with Pacific Builders and our architects, Pete Perkins Eastman and Kendall on and our board on estimating costs for Life Plan Humboldt. And right now, we're doing what's called value engineering, where we kind of, the contractor came up with an estimate, and we go, okay, well, can we lower that cost of construction, and by making some changes that are not going to affect the quality of the design, and but that are going to, so we can continue to have a high quality experience and living community, but and keep the prices. Because you've probably heard me say that we're thinking that homeowners, for example, would be able to sell their home and use that to pay the entry fee into Life Plan Humboldt. And if we're going to have an option with the entry fees, and I hear all the time, well, I want to keep my house for my kids. And first of all, in many situations, if you ask your children, do they want your house? They don't want the house. They'd rather just as soon have you taken care of and have the money for the house. So one of the ways that entry fees can be structured at Life Plan Humboldt is you pay the entry fee, and then when you leave, for whatever reason, and that's sort of a euphemism for when you die, your estate gets 80% of the entry fee back. So in a way, it's a way of preserving the equity of your home, and meanwhile assuring that you have a safe, comfortable, and enjoyable community experience as you age. So once we determine what the fees are going to be, that what we boil down the budget and figure out what the entry fees will be, we need to file an application with the California Department of Social Services for our licensing. And it's a very involved process. And the purpose of this licensing is to protect residents. They don't want to just give a license to anybody, fly-by-night organization. The Department of Social Services wants to make sure that we're financially solid and that we have the correct services and really going to be taking good care of people. So this is probably if you've contributed to Life Plan Humboldt, or if you've on our mailing list and get our newsletter, or we're also going to be reaching out to other people who might be in the age and income bracket to be of interest, and be sending out a survey. And the initial survey will come out by mail, and it's 3 or 4 pages long, and there'll be an online option, I believe. But it's really, we want to learn who amongst you is actually interested in moving in as soon as possible, and what amenities and options are most important to you, and what entry fees and monthly fees would work. And because there'll be options. If you're, it'd be less expensive to buy into a studio apartment than would be to a 2-bedroom, 2-bath cottage, for example. That's kind of the extreme. And then there are other options. We need to find out about the monthly fees, about what you'd like included and what you'd rather work out on your own. And so I encourage you, the mailing will come from Life Plan Humboldt, but all over it will be Pro Forma as a company that the survey company we've engaged. And I really hope you'll fill that out. It's the first phase of a 2-part survey. And the other part is more extensive. And one of the questions on the first survey is, would you be willing to answer some more questions? And then we'll get into some issues like, well, what do you do for healthcare? And what are your needs for healthcare? And what some more about what kind of activities do you do? Because we want to make sure to, when we're building this community, to build something that really supports the activities and lifestyles of potential residents. So once we get the pricing set and we file the licensing application with the Department of Social Services, then we can start collecting this $1,000 for future residents lists. And boy, we've been talking about this for a long time, but we're getting closer. It's essentially a waiting list. And our goal is to get 250 people on it, but we really want to make sure that people putting down their $1,000 are well informed about what they get out of it, and are really interested. And so we can spend more time with them and keep explaining things as a project evolves. We will be finalizing our Welcome Center in McKinleyville. It's on Heartwood near Timber Ridge, actually, and there are people, some of our volunteers standing out in front of it. And at that point, we will be assembling a marketing and sales team. And if I'm sure everybody has a ton of questions like, well, how do you actually move from the home you've probably lived in 20, 30, 40 years to a new community? And and what are the deal? How am I actually eligible? Is it a good choice for me? And so we will have marketing staff who are trained and understand thoroughly about life plan communities who can help you with that process. The Perkins Eastman will finalize their building plans and work with the landscape architect to complete the campus design. And the same architect that's designing Life Plan Humboldt will also be working with rural community housing. So it'd be a consistent, sense of design for the whole community. And there's an environmental impact report underway now, and we've joined with the county for an environmental impact report of the whole town center, because there's another 45 acres across the street and some other properties that are considered part of the town center. The McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, or MICMAC, which is a subcommittee of the Board of Supervisors, has been working for a number of years to come up with a development plan or guideposts for the town center. And the next step is actually looking at the environmental impact of the plans that they've suggested. And hopefully it'll be completed by April 2025 and up for public comment. And once that process is accepted by the public and the Board of Supervisors, Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, we would be principally permitted and able to send development plans directly to the building department. So that's a really positive thing. I can't see if there are questions happening. Jane, am I ignoring people?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Whoops.
Everybody's just quietly listening.
Okay, good.
I
Well,
do,
I
I do
I
have,
have an audience participation plan for later, and maybe then we can open up the whole screen so we can see everybody but I'm just going through the review. And
I do have one question myself.
yeah,
You are starting out with 35. What is capacity if you could do it and you can afford to do it? You were originally going to do 155 or something like that?
144.
144. Well, it's close enough.
Well, yeah, unless we succeed with a smaller project, we're not going to have a bigger project. So, I
Well, I
mean,
understand that.
and
Yeah.
for people,
But
I
this
hear a lot
phase
of people say, "Oh, I'll wait until phase two." Well, you better think hard about phase one because that's what's happening for sure.
okay, great.
Okay. And okay, so if you participate in phase one and move in phase one, you make the whole thing more stable and then open up room for the rest of your friends to join in. So we're hoping once we have the future residents list, that's a $1,000 deposit. In order for people, once the architect plans are set, the pricing set, then we're going to open it up to 10% deposits of the entry fee, and people will get to pick which cottage or apartment that they want to move into. So that'll be a big moment, and we definitely will have a lot of help people figuring out how to do that. We are going to have a third Raise the Roof celebration at the Fieldbook Winery, a lovely location. And we're moving it to September this year because sometimes the weather in May can be a little iffy. And we are continuing to have events so you can get to know your potential neighbors. I just thought, I'm just throwing this in. This is kind of interesting that we geo-mapped the people who are on our interest list. And you can see it comes from throughout the country, mostly on the West Coast, but all up and down the West Coast. And then this is the Humboldt County interest map. So it's, throughout the county. And there's a few off into the far south and farther east that I don't think made it on this map. But I think that's important. We're planning to build in McKinleyville, but there's nothing, a community like it for 200 miles. So some people, if you live in Trinidad or Fortuna or Garberville or whatever, I mean, McKinleyville may seem like another world, but compared to moving 200 miles away, it's still Humboldt County and will still be your Humboldt neighbors. So we've hired a marketing firm called Third, and actually the reason we hired them is because Pat Gertzik and I have participated in national conferences called Leading Age, where our nonprofit senior housing, it's a network of nonprofit senior housing providers. And Third has given fantastic presentations and talked about ageism and advertising about seniors, and is really creative and has a West Coast bent, and have been in Humboldt County and visited us. But they came, the first step, they wanted to know a little bit. Many of you, we've had like almost 700 people fill out surveys over the years, and we've know a lot about people, but the Third wanted to hear from themselves. Um, who are the people in Humboldt County and who might be interested in Life Plan Humboldt and why? And if people not interested, why? So we put together 5 focus groups, and with a mixture of people we knew were people who lived in town or people lived out of town, or people who we know are very serious about becoming residents at Life Plan Humboldt, and other people who are completely skeptical or just say it's not for me. We try to be really representative. We also included people who have some disabilities or who've cared for a partner with a significant chronic condition, just to, because that's one of the things that we think that it'd be easier in a community like this is the caretaking and the mobility issues. So the participants, we really picked the right people. I think they've lived in the Humboldt for an average of 46 years. And they value some of the things that we learned, the third learned that probably is a no-brainer to all of you. Is they value locally sourced organic foods and gardening. A dog-friendly community is important. Every single person in the 30 participants in the focus group was a volunteer of some kind, and often in many different programs. So that volunteer and community service, which is part of our model. We want to promote volunteerism and community connection. That's very appealing. And this is the thing I wanted, when we have time at the end, is to discuss it. Participants reported on an average of feeling 23 years younger than their age. So that's like, here, I'm 73. That would say that I feel 50. But anyway, I think I've been fascinated by that and really think we can have a interesting discussion about it after I'm done with the basic presentation. So what were the priorities that we learned from the focus groups and the surveys? There were 50 people who attended a party at the Eureka Women's Club who filled out surveys. Soundproofing between homes. I mean, many of us, very few of us have actually lived in apartments recently and are used to the peace and quiet not hearing. So definitely the builder and the architect know that soundproofing between homes is very important. People are quite interested in having a private patio, deck, or balcony. And the current plans call for that. That also there are some apartments on the north side, and we're thinking that having a sunroom might be better than having a balcony outside, because we value warmth. They want high-speed internet and tech support, space for outdoor seating and grilling, and that's definitely part of the plan. As you'll see that the dining area has a covered outdoor space as well as a big patio where, different times of year you can spend more time outdoors when you're eating or socializing. Dog-friendly policy and spaces, ample in-home storage for hobbies, and hardwood or luxury vinyl plank flooring. So there are a lot of other things, but these were the kind of the main things. And that this is something that we're taking people's priorities into consideration. So what kind of activities are people interested in? So book club, gardening, beach walk club, bird watching club, meditation and mindfulness groups, educational series like OLLI, which we hope to have a space that's OLLI classes can happen right at Life Plan Humboldt, right on campus, and hiking and walking clubs. And I think this is not an unusual. I mean, having lived in Humboldt County for 45 years, I'm not surprised about these kind of activities. Is the things that we do in Humboldt with our friends. But what strikes me about this list is it's going to be a lot easier for people to participate in these kind of activities when we live in a community where you don't have to get in your car to go do it. And currently I'm in a lot of these kind of activities, but I gotta drive, and that makes it a little less likely to happen, especially as you get older, you don't like to drive at night, or you don't like to drive in inclement weather, or sometimes you can't even drive at all. So that's something to think about when you're planning your futures. What kind of things you like to do and what's going to make it easier for you to continue to do those things. So here's a theme. I can't see it all for some reason. Okay, this is what the marketing people came up with. Life Plan Humboldt is a true community built by the community with neighbors serving neighbors. No. Now what did I do? I can't go my next slide. That a neighborhood connection is really important. The center of the town center. Life Plan Humboldt is the hub of McKinleyville's future town center. It's walkable to the farmers market, retail stores, restaurants, and services. It's going to be where it's at. And actually our last, we have a monthly newsletter and delivers online, and Joanne Schooks, the editor, does a fabulous job putting it together. We featured the Sea Goat Farm stand in our last issue, which they abuts the property of which we were planning to build our community. It's they have sell local products, and they have a farm stand and a huge strawberry bed. But anyway, and sell fresh bread and different products from that local people produce. And we're really delighted to have them as neighbors. Here's another thing, summary from the marketers, that Life Plan Humboldt creates a plan for people who want to age collaboratively with others in a dynamic environment that connects people to what they need for a positive aging experience. So neighbor to neighbor. So I'm hoping now we can talk about this, that participants reported on average feeling 23 years younger than their age. And yet research has shown, and Jane and I were talking about this before this session started, that older adults are happier and less anxious than younger adults. And I'm just wondering what, I think that's really important community discussion, because what does that tell us about our attitudes about aging? Now I can't see anybody, but I want people to join up in
Do you need to maintain the PowerPoint? If you
no,
don't, we
stop
can
this.
just all see each other.
Yeah, good.
Then everybody can wave their hands or hit the reaction button.
Wave their hand or raise their hand. There's one in the chat.
I think one of the things I've heard about is that people who are in settings like this, who have the ability to participate actively, like in leading classes, like in putting together dinners and putting together events, or participating in maybe decorating or preparing meals, so they don't just sit there and receive all the time.
Yeah.
That they can actively collaborate in the gardening design aspects of it, new things.
Right. Well, that's important. That's good. That I just have a little anecdote that, I mean, when you're younger, I don't know, when they're like 16, you want to be 18, or at some point it changes where you want to be, you feel younger. And I've asked this question now of some 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, and the response I get is, oh God, we got responsibilities with the kids, and the job is stressful, and finances, and da 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 da. And I go, oh geez, I'm glad I'm not 25 years younger anymore. And then the other end of the spectrum, people add years. And a while back, I was working up in Hoopa in a clinic, and they had at the time a home for some older Hoopa residents. And one guy, it was a long time ago, I think it was President Bush, the guy had turned 100, right? And he got a letter from President Bush and a big ceremony, and then got acorn soup and all of that stuff. And that day I was seeing a woman in the clinic, and she said, that's bullshit. She said, I'm 96 and we were in kindergarten together. So here's the other end where you add ages. But why is this internalized ageism? I mean, why can't we say, yeah, I'm 73 and I feel great, you know, or anytime, if you're 30, you can have a health disaster. Anyway, anybody have any comments about that?
I do.
Yeah.
Julie?
Well, I don't know what it's like to be older than I am right now. I remember what it was like to be younger. I loved it all, and I'm really glad to be alive at 83. And I love the fact that I can still put my feet on the floor in the morning, get up and walk out the door. And I hope to be able to do that a while longer. So I don't know, but I will say I have to I have to figure out the stress level because times are different now than they've ever been in my lifetime. I mean, I lived through the Vietnam protests, but this is no comparison. This is so much less tangible, and I think it's free floating and it's causing all sorts of problems. I don't need to list them all. Y'all know what they are. That's, that's the difference now. It's not about my age.
Yeah.
And I think a function of age is, or your feeling of your age is how you actually feel physically, mentally. In other words, your degree of the ability to do the things you want to do in a given day. Can you go walk? Can you walk your dog? Can you go on a trip? Can you go shopping independently? What can you do? I think that influences your sense of age. Do you have a lot of pain because you fell when you were 20 and it's finally come back to haunt you? So I think your sense of age is related to your sense of physical health.
But it sounds like Julie's 83 and proud.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there is no choice. There is no alternative. Well,
Yeah, well, that's what I always
there is
think.
that one that Twain talked
Consider the
about.
alternatives, right? But I mean, you don't have to feel 60 to do what you do, Julie. I don't know. Anyway, I'm concerned that if we all, most of us are thinking we're feeling younger, then we don't actually realistically look at the future. Because you certainly, I mean, I'm 73, 23 years ago, I would be 50. That would mean I probably have a life expectancy of another 35 years, because a woman's life expectancy is 85. But probably I don't, given the fact I'm the age. So like if my mind is stuck and I'm a young 73, then what does that do to realistically thinking how many years you have left and what are you going to do with it? And how are you going to optimize, what you've got going? Anybody else?
Mark, did you want to say something?
You're muted.
You're muted, Mark. Can you unmute me? Can you unmute yourself? You're talking away and we can't hear you.
No, I know. I was just trying to figure out how to do it on my iPad. I'm not used to doing it on my iPad. Well, I was just going to say that I'm younger than a lot of the people involved and who are living there or are going to be living there. But, I've never been this age before. So I don't know what I'm supposed to feel like. I just know how I feel, and I feel pretty good. And I assume in 10 years when I'm 78, I'll feel 78 because that's how old I am. I mean, I think what Ann was kind of getting at was, we think we're supposed to feel a certain way at a certain age. And I just want to feel healthy. I want to be able to be active. I want to be able to go on walks. I want to be able to go camping and all that fun stuff and where I live. So anyway, maybe I have the benefit of being a little bit younger to say that, but I know a lot of my friends are feeling their age. I don't know, maybe that's a bad thing to say, feeling your age. I mean, what does that mean?
What does that mean to feel your age?
Exactly.
That your joints aren't quite as fluid as they used to be, etc.
Yeah, maybe that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Kay, you wanted to say something? You need to unmute.
I did. Hi. Yeah, I'm curious about this age thing. I just turned 89 and everybody made a big fuss about it. Nobody's ever made a fuss about it before. So I don't know what happened, but I was very pleased to be in good health. And I think that is just such a gift. I have joked recently that I put solar panels on my roof and I have to live to be 100 to have 1 year totally free payback. And so that's a good goal. I've got my age 100 goal now that I'm working toward. And I think the one thing that I noticed in your presentation that I was a little concerned about was when you had the activities that people wanted to do, there are some really good ones on there, but exercise was not on there, an exercise facility. And with our weather here, we really need to have some way to keep active in our winter months. I go to the gym at least 4 times, sometimes 5 times. I dance once a week. And that really keeps me steady and my balance, which I think is so important for older people, because if you fall, it's a real danger. And it makes a spiral for so many of the people I've known. So I want to get
I,
a again
I
for
totally agree with that, Kay.
Pardon
Yeah.
me?
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well,
you're
I got my
89
pitch
and
in.
proud, Kay. 89. I feel like
You bet. I'm on my way to 100 and maybe right on past.
it's a good point about and we actually are making that, you know, that about the exercise. And I think that's something that we're aware of, and that really if you get an opportunity to complete the survey, you can definitely
Yeah,
emphasize that. So,
I did put it on.
I think, Kate, one of your things was to make sure that we had some kind of indoor alternatives during when the weather's bad. And one of the things we're looking at trying to do is to not duplicate services that are already available nearby. So if you know of our location in McKinleyville, there's already 2 or 3 gyms really close by. So spending the resources to build another gym on campus in the community may not be the best way to do it. Providing shuttle to the existing ones and having an agreement with them for our residents to have a plan there might be a better solution. But certainly like walking paths and things like that, it's going to be a very walkable campus.
Right. I just wanted to make sure it didn't get lost in the shuffle because I didn't see it listed.
Yeah.
Mark Chatton is a board member, like Plan Humboldt. It's like jumping in. Good.
I didn't hear you say anything about dementia care.
So what about, yes, it's very important, very important. And one of the things that, when the part of when people, life plan community, the idea is people move in when they're, able, and then they get supported as they develop issues. And I think a lot of people sort of, I mean, we're all in the mindset of we have some excellent assisted living facilities there, but by and large, people go there when they can't live anywhere else. Initially, we are ultimately planning memory care, and we are going to be providing assisted living services in people's apartments and cottages, and then our second, as we progress or as we build on, we're going to have a assisted living home for people who need nighttime care. And one we're planning to, we've been working with a consultant, Megan Canarias, and she does going to do training or education sessions with all the staff and all the residents, and including all the, you know, we're going to want to open it up to Timber Ridge next door, about how to support, what's the best way to support people with dementia and their caregivers with dementia, so that, because a lot of the issues that arise can be avoided with a supportive community network. Looks like initially we're going to, we've had initial conversations with Timber Ridge, and they have capacity so that if some of our residents actually need memory care and higher level assisted living than we can provide in people's cottages and apartments, that would be able to be at Timber Ridge, which is really right next door, and that will be supported by Life Plan Humboldt staff and community. So, but that's one of the details we're working out. But we're committed to having innovative memory care. The number of us who've been reading an awful lot and going to conferences and really excited about some of the new things coming out and how to best support people with dementia.
This is kind of an infomercial, but I've been visiting McKinleyville, Timber Ridge every month, and I am really impressed. It would be, I mean, really, right now, if I were going to go somewhere, that's where I would want to go if I had to go this week.
I
So
see you shaking your head. Are you have some comment to add that?
no, just that it's a great staff, great energy. It's just there's something about the feeling of the place that's really positive and upbeat. I play in Eureka. I'm not going to say much about it, but it's not the same at all. So McKinleyville, I would say, is a really great, uplifting place to be.
Julie, have you been into the memory part of Timber?
No, no,
Depressing.
no. Well, I'm sure it is. I have a couple of friends with those issues. It's depressing.
Yeah,
I don't want to be with people. I'm finding a way out.
yeah.
Right. Well, my goal is to build our own memory care before I need it. But I also think that the training and the layout is quite nice. I mean, there's access to a garden and
Mhm.
community space, a common space, and all that. And I think if we can work on the working with the staff on and working with management on what kind of approach they might adapt, we can have a positive impact on the broader community, not just Life Plan Humboldt.
Mhm.
Anyone else feeling their age?
Well, I'm going to be turning 80, and the 70s always seemed totally fine. I get worried about the 80s because I see the obits. It seems like most people don't survive their 80s. That sounds terrible, but I mean, it's like, you're getting older when you start reading the obits because you're afraid you're going to meet your friends there. But it's an interesting, potentially psychological transition. The real issue is how you feel physically, as far as I'm concerned. Are you still able to go walk in the forest for an hour and a half? Are you still able to be active during the day and not get totally wiped out? So I think it's a sense of how you feel physically, how much, if you're connected with friends and activities that make life enjoyable, and you feel like you have purpose in life and you're contributing. I've been doing Pilates, and by the way, you don't need huge spaces to do something like Pilates if it's ground Pilates. And when we set up a room, it needs to be able to have space to do things like that for people who want to do Tai Chi, Pilates, regardless, a few exercise machines. It would be very nice to be able to have that at the facility without having to go and actually join another facility. You may not want to do some of these things with a whole crowd of people you don't know.
My mantra is just keep shifting gears. Like,
Mhm.
because shit happens. And
Oh yeah.
actually a friend of ours just fell down the stairs and suffered some fractures, and that what all of a sudden in one moment her life changed. So and that kind of, we all know people who had things like that. And you're right, as the older you get, the more people that you're a little slightly more likely to have that stuff happen to you and your friends. But anyway.
Seeing Julie, before you even spoke, Julie, it's so wonderful. She and some other friends of mine play at Timber Ridge. And I think Life Plan Humboldt, these same wonderful volunteer musicians will probably come and do things at the new place, your place, which is so wonderful and just wonderful.
Sounds great.
A space for an outdoor theater, like set up a platform where people can, in essence, have a stage to perform. It doesn't have to be big. I mean, they have portable ones that they use at the Arcade Plaza. So having something like that where people can come and have a good time.
Sounds great. Rhonda, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. So I've hung out. Those of you who know me, I was married to someone much older than myself, and also I have a lot of friends who are much older than me. And what I have found is that those who are the most adaptable, and I think we all know ourselves from the time we're young as we go through life and who we are. And if you can be honest with yourself in the ways that you see, I'm not adaptable, then maybe to start thinking, if I really want this in this time of my life, to, just like the name says, life plan, that it's important to plan. I mean, there are those who are driving now who might not be able to drive. And I know there are people who like, but there are others who say, no, here, take them, because I'm already thinking about what I can do, when I can't. It's like the more that you can just, and I can't do that, but I can do this. And I think with a community, you get that support because people are all kind of in their own place, but going through all the things, all the losses, all the changes. And it's one thing to think how it is individually, and another thing that if we can be, supportive of one another. But I think adaptability has just really been something that I've been paying attention to from others.
Great. Thank you. That's a useful concept. Just
John, did you have something you want to say? You better unmute. Can't unmute? Oh, well. Anybody else have any kind of ideas?
Now can you hear me?
Annette. Oh,
Yes.
John, we've got you.
Okay,
on.
good. I don't drive, and I'm 82, but I'm active. Are we going to have, for instance, I'm not familiar with McKinleyville that much, but if you had a senior center and I wanted to go to an activity that they had, will you provide transportation to go to these places, or transportation to go see my doctor? Or
I think that's something that really needs to be built in, and we don't have specific plans for it. Can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, although my father-in-law lived in Timber Ridge for a while, and he had a golf cart, and he got all around McKinleyville, to the senior center, and to go buy his New York Times, and go to and that's when I first got the impression that what a accessible community it is, and I think that that's something you're right within walking, and we certainly can promote transportation. I think that's something that people need, and is exactly how we set it up. I don't know how we'll do that, but
okay,
something better than dial-a-ride.
But
okay.
what I will suggest is that for a few years, I was a volunteer driver for the Area 1 Agency on Aging, and we took people to doctor's appointments or to whatever was needed. And that, I think, is still a viable program, and one that would certainly work very well out here.
And it's part of Redwood Coast Village.
Yeah, they have the same,
Yeah.
and that's something that a number of potential residents I know already work with the Redwood Coast Village, and that's something that we can, again, Mark said we're not going to recreate expensive things that exist in the community. We'll contribute to them and help them grow and take advantage of them. So that is a good way of thinking about it. Thank you.
The other thing, John, you were saying how you don't drive anymore, but there will be the Midtown Trail that'll go right through our community that is accessible. Besides the trails around the wetlands that'll be on our property, if you want to venture out more onto the Midtown Trail, which even connects over to the Hammond Trail. So there will be ways of moving around without having to drive somewhere.
Well, I do like to walk. I do like to walk. I do a lot of walking. Okay, that's good.
I've been attending the McKinleyville Micmac meetings at last Wednesday of the month. And for a while back, they mentioned there's some funding to really address the specific transit needs of seniors in the community. One of the suggestions was to have a lift-like thing that you could call up and schedule to go to particular places and that seemed pretty intriguing to me. Again, it's once we get going and are living there, we're going to be a force in what happens in McKinleyville, and that we can help fashion and make it even more and more a senior friendly place. I mean, they're working on changing Hiller Road, making it more pedestrian and bike friendly, and that's that main street that goes right by the property we're working on. And there were 8 of us from Life Plan Humboldt at that meeting, and we, by and large, dictated what was important. I mean, there were people there from a preschool and other, school age kids and things like that who were interested in biking, but it gave me a glimpse of what positive impact we can have collectively. So it's exciting.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I want to bring up my punchline here.
Yeah.
If I can. Oops. Oh, just share screen. Share. Try that. Okay. So those of you who are new, make sure you go to lifeplanhumboldt.org and sign up for the newsletter. We get a lot of rave reviews and actually have a very high open rate. So I mean that people like reading it. It's a way of learning. We try to share as much as we can about the developments. Donate, it's tax deductible. You can donate directly from your IRA, the required minimum distribution, and volunteer. And we are planning a volunteer training in April. So let us know if you're interested. And we're going to have those of you who are already ambassadors, you can attend for an update.
And one last comment, I think Annette wanted to say something. Annette, did you?
I just had a comment about, we were talking about the memory care at the McKinleyville facility, and I had a friend who visited that and the place where Timber Ridge, where my sister is now in memory care, and his comment was it's sterile, just there's nothing on the walls, no decoration. So that's something that could be changed. I think the kind of atmosphere and artwork makes a huge difference to people, no matter what their state their mind is in. So easy to improve, but I'm sure ours will be state of the art, but we can still help them a little bit.
Right.
And art and music make a huge difference in quality of life.
Well, I agree in that things can change. And actually, one of the gratifying things I've seen in those conferences that I attend is I talk to people who, we're really interested in something called the Montessori model, where, Montessori is for kids, young kids, but it's the same thing as in making enriching experiences available to people according to their interests and getting to know really who they are. And that's the kind of thing that I talked to people who directed memory care and different facilities, and they changed and adapted that. And the staff love it. The residents love it, the families love it, and it's not exorbitantly expensive to do that. So I do think that's part of our idea about having training available with people who have progressive ideas about dementia and the personhood of dementia. You're not losing your mind, you're evolving, you're different, having that training available, not only to the residents and staff, of Life Plan Humboldt, but more broader in the community. We're committed to making the whole community better. But yeah, thank you, Annette. That's a good point.
Yeah, the Montessori model, the discussion we had about that one day was very, very interesting because I mean, for kids, it's an open environment, letting them progress at their own pace. It's very social, interacting with each other, group activities. There's a freedom to it that applies to older adults as well.
Right.
And
We
we
had
are
a,
that group.
yeah, we had Ann Kelly from Tasmania gave an
Yeah.
OLLI presentation, and it's in the OLLI archives.
Yeah,
of-
she was fantastic. So
Yeah.
go into the OLLI archives. I don't remember what date it was anymore, but look up Life Plan Humboldt, various ones. Maybe we can find it for you and let you know. But meantime, I want to thank Ann and all of her compatriots who are working so hard on making this a reality. It's coming and it's going to be very special. And aside from that, I want to let you know we have a day off next week, St. Patty's Day, and happens to be my 80th birthday, which is always fun. And we are going to skip to March 24th, where Lori Dengler is going to talk about the December 5th, 2024 earthquake and follow up about an overview of the tectonic setting, damage, and impacts, and why a tsunami warning was issued. And then, of course, it was not maintained. So we look forward to seeing you. Have a wonderful spring semester time off, which is why we're not having it. And welcome to spring.
All right. Good seeing you all.
Thank
We'll
you.
look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Meantime, enjoy the sunshine. before
Meanwhile,
it's
have
even more.
conversations. Ask people about how old they feel and what does that mean. I think it's a good community conversation. Bye-bye.
Thanks so
Absolutely.
much,
it is.
Jen.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much.